you interview 5 out of 10 people, most people do not want to get help, or they suppress the whole idea of identifying where they need to be helped. So I came up through just passion, through just talking to people. Let's get help. Let's get mental help. Let's get financial help. Let's get relational help. Let's get spiritual help. And so out of that, we're going to be doing our podcast, a lot of how-to clinics, how to raise boys, how to communicate with your spouse. I know you're doing some relational things that I can't wait to just put my hands around. So it was called Let's Get Help. And not only just let's get help, but helping people to understand it's okay not to be okay. And it's okay to get help. Yeah,
that's good. That's good. And you know what, I think that, you and I talked earlier, but it's just so hard, it seems, for people to be okay with the idea of having to seek help. As a community, especially for Black women, we are always known to be so strong, and we take on so much. And so for us, it seems like if we're not overwhelmed,
right,
we think that, that's not normal.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? We're living in that day and time. We're all in this place in this pandemic together because we've never lived this. We've never experienced this. And life has become very hectic. The demands are very different. A lot of our parents, kudos to all those who have had to homeschool, and to turn their home into a learning lab or a classroom, or convert their garages. I've been helping out with my 10-year-old nephew, and boy, I tell you, he's a boy, he's all boy. And I kind of cornered my home. I gave him like the first level, and then I would work up on the upstairs and in the basement, and we would kind of put zones like, okay, this is where you're going to eat lunch, this is where you're going to do art, this is where you're going to do math. I promise you, by 11 o'clock, the boy was running straight through the house. And I work from home sometime, and I tell you, so kudos to all of our educators, to those who have had to kind of pitch in, whether you're a godmother or aunt or neighbor, or just somebody volunteering to help, which brings me to my next point, let's get help. I mean, that literally came right through this whole pandemic.
Got you. And it is, it's necessary. I mean, you take what we do before the pandemic, before the rioting and the, dealing with the social injustice, and before George Floyd and all the other people who have suffered at the hands of, these crimes, these murders. Before all of that, we already were kind of stretched thin, with dealing with just life, period. So you compound that with, the pandemic. You add on to that, maybe being furloughed, or, changing, just a change of working from home, or, just being fearful about the contact and the social distancing. And for a lot of people, going home was not a great thing. You think about it, for a lot of children, going home is not necessarily a good thing. So definitely, people have been positioned to need help. So I wanted to, if I'm not mistaken, I think one of the first things I wanted to talk about was, can you really just explain what mental wellness is and why it is so important to us?
Absolutely. Well, it is the active process of becoming aware and making choices toward healthy and a fulfilling life. It is more than just free from illnesses, but it's the continual process of growth and development, growth and identifying the tools necessary to help you grow mentally, to help you grow intellectually. So whether that means, especially to help you grow physically, if that means also getting books and digesting books on what your industry specialization is. But it is a constant process of growth and development. So we're not so much tackling mental illnesses and mental disorders, Although we do touch on anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
controlled anxiety, but all the mental illnesses, we kind of leave that under the spectrum of mental health. And that is the difference between mental wellness and mental health. Now, mental wellness falls under the spectrum of mental health, but
Got
mental health focus on you having a positive outlook on
it.
life. So take, for instance, this whole quarantine,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I think most of us had an opportunity over almost last 3 months to find out a lot about ourselves, what we like,
Mm-hmm.
what we don't like, what our communication methods are, how we can think things through better. A lot of us, those who have lost their jobs, had to come up with creative ways. So you really didn't have time to just sit and have a pity party because life was demanding that you take it by the bootstraps and make some things happen.
Mm-hmm.
So mental wellness focus again on the process of growth and development. You're constantly developing. I like to call it just evolving. Who you were before this pandemic started is not who you are right now. And so as you evolve, people around you need to evolve because you've grown. It's the
Mm-hmm.
process of growth and development in a nutshell.
And I love that because I think I put up a post earlier where I said, put yourself in environments that allow you to grow. So that means checking your circle of people that you're around. That means checking the associations. I mean, even with social media, the groups that
Mhm.
you're a part of, are they adding value or are they taking away? And when you really speak about positivity and just having that good energy around you, that can uplift your mood, which in turn uplifts some of the physical ailments that you have as well. Is that correct?
Yep, absolutely. And so a lot of times when we have physical ailments, it actually is kind of bent on what's going on with us physical, what's going
Mm-hmm.
on with us mentally, and just how we take care of our bodies. We work out, we're juicing, we're doing different things to make
Mm-hmm.
sure we're physically fit. We want to make sure you're also mentally fit, that when you hit the door that you're ready to take on life, you're ready to be a problem solver. You're ready to be that change agent. You're ready to really say, okay, life, throw what comes. I'm ready for it. And so being mentally fit. And one of the things about being mentally fit, when you're mentally fit, you can really eliminate toxic thinking,
Mm,
toxic thoughts, toxic habits.
gotcha.
So when it's well up here, it also helps to help you to facilitate positive thinking, thinking things through. It also helps you to confront without offending. A lot of times when we have a lot of our emotions pent up, Angela, it comes out, it's suppressed, so it comes out in different ways. If you are trying to live a life that is full of balances of mental wellness, then you won't have these, what I like to call emotional burst outs, where you're
Mm-hmm.
constantly latching or you're constantly what we call blowing up.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's because it's so much that's going on in the inside. So our emotional, our psyche is crying out, hey, help, I need help. And so that's why I started the movement, Let's Get Help.
That's great. And you know what? I think that when you speak of it like that, I mean, everybody on here, I know I see Miss Mary, I see Eugenia, Elwanda, Miss Flowers. So we've got some people tuning in. And I know that a lot of times when you're talking about, just the emotional wellness piece of being able to go out and face the day, that's a
Yeah.
challenge for some people. It's really a
Yeah.
challenge to be able to, when you think about people who get anxiety or depression. So one of the things I think I saw you mention was that in the course of the day, just a simple act of stretching can release
Yes.
endorphins and things that will allow you to be able to start having those low healthy feelings. Is that correct? So can you
Yeah.
share how that action equates to helping with the mental wellness and then maybe some other things that people can do that will help them as well?
Well, when you stretch the natural body, you're also allowing your mental capacity to kind of just release and inhale and exhale, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And so, just a simple exercise of just stretching throughout the day. I know some people take like power naps, or some people take what they call just a mental break. But stretching
Mm-hmm.
actually helps the body to say, "Whoo, I'm relieving." Another thing that actually helps the body is walking, meditating. You'll be amazed at what meditation does for the mind. I like to meditate at least 3 to 4 times a week. I go out on my patio, get me a cup of coffee, whether it's tea or some crackers, and that 15 to 20 minutes, that's my time where I can just think myself through the next strategy, think
Mm-hmm.
myself through the next chapter if I'm working on a project. But definitely stretching, taking walks, um, especially during this whole pandemic and protesting and
Mm-hmm.
different things of that nature. You just need to find that safe space and place, whether it's stretching, whether it's meditating, whether it's walking, whether it's painting. Painting is very
Mm.
relaxing, but you need to create a space throughout your day where it's just you and the demands of the day, whether it's your domestic responsibilities, your work-related responsibilities, where you could just shut down for a few minutes, calm your mind, and you would be amazed. Now, Angela, we've been lucky because most of us are working from home, so we're
Mm-hmm.
not having to fight through traffic. We don't have to
Mm-hmm.
pick the kids up from aftercare. We don't have to figure out what's going to be for dinner because we're home. So we can
Mm-hmm.
go to Sam's, Costco, BJ's, and plan for the next 2 weeks,
Right.
or Publix or Kroger's. So we do have some advantages of working from home, but then the next month or two that may change, and where we will enter society, of course, in this new world order, but still doing some of the same things. So, say for instance, um, staying in traffic, that's a stressor, right? I
Mm-hmm.
know that's a
Right.
stressor, and especially Atlanta traffic. It takes
Yes, everybody knows
all of
Atlanta.
your
Oh my
faith
God.
to move through Atlanta traffic. I'm originally
Yes.
from Miami, and I really thought our traffic was bad
Mm-hmm.
until I moved to Atlanta.
Atlanta. Right.
And then it was a different dynamic.
Yes.
So my point is, once we start going back to those everyday routines,
Mm-hmm.
then you'll find that stress levels will begin to go up. Well, our body is only designed to take 200 units of stress before you have a nervous breakdown. So you
Mm.
have to be able to monitor what your stresses are. So if you know your stresses are going in traffic where you're going to be 4 or 5 hours, I mean, not 4 or 5 hours, 45 minutes to 2 hours in traffic, well,
Right.
then you may ask to work, to do some telecommuting or to find a different route. But whatever you need to do, you need to be able to manage and control that stress, just like anxiety. I know the curve for anxiety have really, swarmed up because of, our crises. But those are things that we really have to manage. So I said to say all of this, stretching is great, taking a walk, and definitely meditating is very, very important. You'll be amazed by the benefits of meditating.
And I'm so glad because you hear people say about meditation. And for some reason, for some people, it's very hard to get still, to calm your mind down because they're constantly racing and thinking. So, how do you suggest somebody goes about and kind of get started with that meditation process?
Good question. Number one, um, create a time.
Mm,
So if you have to wake up the family to get breakfast, get the dog fed, let it be from 6 a.m. I'm just giving you case in point. Let it
right.
be from 6 a.m. to maybe 6:30 or 6:15. And if that doesn't work for you, maybe try in the bottom part of the day. But number one, sketch out some time. Number two, protect the time. let your family know, or you know, you don't start going on social media, returning emails until you had that meditative time.
Mm-hmm.
So schedule the time, um, protect the time, and then be faithful to the time. You show up, you know, when it's time for your meditations. You can meditate on a book. You can read a book. You could join a book club. It could be a prayer meditation or a meditation of, you know, where are you at in life? Just taking things in. You know, you maybe want to start planning a garden. What will it take to do the garden, or just sitting still? So the fourth thing would be, that's a time and space. You don't even have to put anything in it. You just need to sit there and let your heart speak to you, especially during, again, this time of crisis, because there's so many things that are coming at us. You know, now we can't go outside unless we have the mask and gloves, which is wonderful. I'm glad that our scientists, our healthcare professionals have kept us safe here in America. So kudos to anybody that works in the healthcare field that has put their life on the line. But I would say if you could start off with those four things, you know, identify the time, schedule the time, protect the time, and know that that's the time for you. And you don't have to fill it up with busyness, because it's to hear. Meditation is built so you can hear yourself think. You know, you can think yourself to success. You can think yourself to the next business idea. You can think yourself to the next cutting edge proposal. So in your quietness, you can think yourself through.
That's so great. And I was looking at, because I'm trying to look at this phone and look at the computer, because I see where Miss Pat said that she spends 30 minutes every morning in prayer and meditation. She starts about 5 and 25 and 6 a.m. every day before everyone wakes up. So that's great, Miss Pat, because you have a routine set. And hey, Zena, how are you? The thing that I know that you said that I really want people to kind of hone in on is about thinking your way to, because the Bible says, as a man thinketh, so is he. So what you think on, what you focus on, it grows. So if you think about, you know, being successful, if you think about having peace, if you think about doing your meditation time of getting your mind clear and focus on the goal at hand, then that really kind of helps not only to, you know, get you centered and grounded, but it also helps you to clear a pathway to achieve the very thing that you've been focusing and thinking about during that meditation period.
Yeah. And you know what, Angela, when you're focused, when you're laser sharp focused about your mission in life, about your purpose, living life on purpose, which is vitally important, it will help you not to allow people to rent space in your mind. You know, where people just take it up and they said this and they said this and this is how that happens. But it's a mental drainage. And you do not want that. And you don't want people to rent space in your mind. If you are not contributing to my success, or you're not adding value to where I'm going and where I have the potential to go, well, listen, it's time for you to get on the back burner, you know.
That's right.
And because you know what, through this crisis, a lot of us have to reinvent ourselves, Angela, where we may have went through the pandemic as, say for instance, as a hairstylist. But now you may have to go to school as a nurse now, because the demand is different.
Right.
It's so much different. But when you're laser sharp, when you're focused on what you need to be focused, then that also helps you to establish healthy boundaries. And we're still talking about how to move through when things are hectic. Right. But establishing healthy boundaries is important for you, and is important for those who make up your village, whether it's your family, your spouse, your instructors, your professors, you name it. So it's just staying laser sharp is vitally important to mental wellness.
That's good. And I'm glad you brought up about boundaries, because what I found out during this period of pandemic and us being kind of social distancing and quarantine is that, like you said earlier, now you really have a time to be to yourself. Now you really have time to determine who's vital to your life and who's not, because you're not talking to the same people like you were when you were at work, or, you know what I'm saying, the social distancing has kind of kept you apart. So now maybe you have had the opportunity to think about your life a little bit more and the direction that you want to go in. And like you say, sometimes you have to reinvent yourself, because some of the things that, you know, if you had a business, service-based business where you were dependent on clients coming to you, now that's not happening. So now you have to kind of pivot and figure
Yeah,
out what is
that's
going
it.
to work for you.
Yes.
So in setting the boundaries for people who may not have served you before, this is the perfect time to pivot into something better, put boundaries up against those people, and then maneuver in a direction that is going to
That's right.
benefit you so much more. So I'm so glad you put that out there.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what else? Being great. Sometimes when life gets hectic, you have to slow down, Angela, and be grateful.
Yes.
A heart of gratitude for sometimes the simple things. I've had to really remind myself, and I'm sure if anybody that's listening, I know we're in a pandemic. I know we've been home for 3 months. I know we can't hug each other. We can't
Right.
hang out. But the fact that you have a roof over your head, the fact that you are closed in your right mind, the
Mhm.
fact that nobody is hopefully beating you over the head, over your
Right.
head, the fact that you can open your mouth and decree and declare anything that you want, listen. And you know what happens? When you have a heart of gratitude, it helps to move away the negative emotions throughout this whole crisis.
Mhm.
Whether it's bitterness, whether it's resentment. I'm sure you've heard where the stats of divorce, unfortunately, has risen over the last couple months. But when
Mhm.
you're grateful, when you have a heart of gratitude, especially when life gets hectic, I tell you, it helps to make everything cool, calm, and collective. God, I am grateful that I have beautiful children. I'm grateful that I live in a decent home. I'm grateful that I have access to home health care. I have access to education. I have transportation. God bless America. We're a blessed country. And so having a heart of gratitude makes it all the better doing when life truly gets hectic.
That's good. I see P. Angela, welcome to the broadcast. She said that gratitude is necessary and to stay focused on your wins. And I think that's really great,
Yeah.
because a lot of times, you know, when we're trying to get mental wellness, being able to focus on what's going right in your life, I'm sure elevates that, correct?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Like, so if you're working on a new degree or a new hobby,
Mhm.
painting, but if you're just grateful that you have something to paint, that you have space in your home or in your backyard that you can plant a garden. Sometimes, Angela, it's the small things. The
Yeah.
Bible says, oh, give thanks
Hmm.
to the Lord. And so just having to be grateful that you can walk in your kitchen and just about cook anything that you want, or go in the deep freezer, or get in your car and just drive. There are so many countries that doesn't have those luxuries that America has. So
Hmm.
I like to drive the message of being grateful. You know, again, I know we miss everybody. God knows I miss everybody. Um, listen, Angela. Sometimes I think I want to put on my sneakers and just go to each one of my neighbors and say, "Can I have a hug?" Because I'm a people's person.
Which is a lot going on. Which is say, look, I'm in communication, girl, because I'm
Yeah,
always skinning and grinning and doing all of that. But I
yeah,
will say that, you know, I have really enjoyed it. Now, let me say this. Miss Mary had a question. She wanted to know that is a way to achieve good mental health, I guess, wellness, by getting involved with a mental health coach or mental wellness coach. Is that a way to kind of help you get prepped and prepared and going in the right direction?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think you need a coach, a financial coach. You definitely need a mental wellness coach, because you know what happens, Angela? And to the dear sister who asked this question, life happens. So when
Mhm.
life throws you a curveball, and it will, but
Mhm.
that coach kind of helps you navigate. Navigate serves as your
Right.
blueprint. They keep you accountable. They make sure that you have that mental fortitude. So definitely having a mental coach, or if you can't get a mental coach, at least having somebody that's a part of one of your social organizations to say, hey, can you be my mental coach, or my mental accountability? Absolutely. Just sometimes to think things through, to have that person, if again, when life happens, and it will, if
Mhm.
you need to make a major decision, you have somebody that you can talk to, so you thinking through, thinking clear, that you can say, okay, I would caution this, I would recommend this. Here's your options. Let's explore. So they're kind of helping you think things through. So absolutely, absolutely.
Awesome, awesome. So now, like I said, y'all know I already told y'all that my notes is all over the place somewhere, girl. It's off, it's cyberland somewhere. So it's okay because I
Mhm.
want to kind of switch a little bit because although we're talking about still mental wellness, let's speak about the men and the children in our family, because
Right.
as women, we are carrying that mantle of having to make sure that not only are we experiencing mental wellness, but
Yeah.
the husbands or fathers or brothers or sons,
Yeah.
when we're talking about social injustice, when we're worried about them driving down the street just to pick up something from Chick-fil-A and come, we're worried about them
Ooh.
coming back. I mean, that's a lot going on. So what are some things that can help us be mentally strong when we're trying to deal with those with the men in our lives as well?
Right. Well, our black men, for the sake of this conversation, is really they deal with a lot, right? They've always dealt with a lot, number one.
Mhm.
But with the killing, Angela, with all the killings that are going on, I mean, men are really our black men, they're really facing some things that are occurring in our society,
Mhm.
that makes it hard for them to open up. That's number one. So all of what you've done, as you may know, we're in a worldwide protest,
Mhm.
and you see a lot of what it's about: killing of our black men,
Mhm.
mistreating of our black men. So they already deal with their idiosyncrasies. And so now to have to deal with, excuse me, now to have to deal with all of what these social ills are, and the social ills that are plaguing our black men is unbelievable. So
Yeah.
to answer your question, before I answer it, number two, tend to talk more than men. In fact, they talk 3 times more.
Hmm.
So it's more, and studies show it's more harder for men to open up, um,
Mhm.
especially black men. Why? Because from young, we've been told, man up, men don't cry. Have
Yeah.
you ever asked a man, just do a test one day and say, how was your day? The first thing they're gonna do is say fine, right?
Mhm.
Because it's an
Right.
open-end question. So they don't really go into, well, this happened, that happened,
Mhm.
and they'll go right on to talking about sports, the latest record, the latest
Mhm.
artist. Hey, did you see that? Not really dealing with, Angela, what's going on the inside. So
Correct.
you have what's going on in society. Boom, that's one punch. You have
Mhm.
what's going on internally. Boom, that's another punch. Then you
Mhm.
have what's going on relationally. Boom, that's another punch. Then you have what's going on in the workplace. Boom, that's another punch. So when our black men, by the time we want them to get help, and they need to get help, and again, that's why I started this movement, Let's Get Help, and it's really also geared toward our men. We have to open up a path and let them know that it is okay to get help. So
Mhm.
now what I do with the men, for example, how I do with the men in my life, instead of opening a question up and it's closed, I kind
Mhm.
of ask them to expound. And I heard somebody say, you should say, not only how is your day, but what was the highlight of your day,
Mhm.
basically, to get them to talking. And especially when it comes to going to the doctor. Listen,
Yeah, that's
you
another thing.
stand a chance of winning Family Feud before you can get them to go to the doctor. But it's because they're having so many things coming at them. But I think we as women, if we really help them to understand, sweetheart, it's okay to get help. You have a
Mhm.
support system. We need you to take care of yourself so you could be around for your children and your grandchildren. You know,
Right.
we need to help you make better decisions. And number five, you don't have to be strong all the time, you
Mm.
know, and it's the way they're wired. Men are
Yeah,
wired differently,
right.
and so it's just so much coming at them, in our society. It really is.
Yeah, and I know that I was listening to Miss Mary was saying, to offer encouragement. And I know that for, when I'm talking to women, one of the things I say is, you've got to really make it a safe place inside your home for your spouse or your sons or, the men in your family to feel okay to express themselves. And I think a
Right.
lot of times, like you say, if you're always, when you're growing up, if somebody tell you, suck it up, you better not cry, or,
Yeah.
to call you a name because you cry, or because you
Yeah.
feel some type of emotion, that really causes people to internalize a lot. And
Yeah.
so, with that being said, and we know this kind of sort of how a lot of men process and deal with things, what would you suggest to a woman who is raising male children? How can they change their narrative to make it better for young boys to really express themselves?
Well, sometimes, unfortunately, when there's a divorce that has occurred, and the child is small when that happens, maybe from
Hmm.
10 on down, sometimes we'll see women say, you need to man up,
Hmm.
and it's different from just domestic household chores of taking out the garbage and whatever, but you're the man in the house and and it's
Yeah.
putting unnecessary pressure on their tender little shoulders.
Yeah.
You ever heard, oh, you the man? I'm like, well,
Hmm.
Marcus is only 11. How is he the man? You know,
Hmm.
um, you man up, and it kind of rapes them of their childhood or
Hmm.
their process of becoming a boy, a man, a father, a gentleman, a grandfather. So you have to, number one, if I had to speak to single moms, take the unnecessary pressure and allow them to be a kid. Allow them, especially boys, to go and throw rocks and be physical and build and be a part of a great STEM program. That's number
Hmm.
one. Number two is you can date him. I know some people they gonna throw back at me, Angela, but you cannot date your son, ladies. You can't do that. When they become 13, 14, and you still sometime, I'm talking real, you still kind of long for that physical presence of a male companion. You cannot date. I see it all the time. You
Hmm.
cannot date your child or your young man. Then number three, allow them to explore, allow them to express themselves, allow them to say that they're hurt, maybe that their father is not in their home, or they hate going to see them every summer and then they have to leave and readjust all the time.
Yeah.
They have a heart, they have minds, they have their own opinions. So I would say allow them to really express what it is that they're feeling. And you'll find yourself, especially with boys, because they wire differently. It's not all about video games and the latest sneakers, ladies, but it's about giving them a voice in their own space.
Oh, that's powerful. I love that. And and for the ladies who are listening or that will catch this on, the YouTube channel or the replay or what have you, understand that, at this point we are really speaking about, empowerment, changing your
Yes,
mindset,
yes,
positioning yourself to do things different so that you can have a different outcome. And so if you've done this, don't beat yourself up about it because, we all do things, and not really think about the long-term consequences. But
yeah.
again, they say when you know better, you
You
do
do
better.
better.
So with
Absolutely.
that being said, we have really got to start taking away some of this, like you said, pressure and things that we put on kids, because some kids have to grow up so fast because they're missing a parent, because they are having to take on additional responsibilities, because they're having to kind of, help out with the other children. And so it takes away the freedom to just, be a kid. What I have seen during this period of being quarantined is so many more kids are outside. They're getting fresh air. They're enjoying, just laughing. I can hear them riding bikes and just different things. My brother shows his little videos of my niece and nephew, and they're riding bikes and having a great time. And it's so refreshing to see children be children, to just like have so much fun and be so happy. So that's excellent advice, just to let them know, let them go outside and throw rocks and let them be kids. I think sometimes we try to stop them from, like, don't do that, but they're just being children.
And you know what, Angela, our African American men, they suffer in silence. Because sometimes they don't have that community or that pillar of strength to really talk to somebody. And that quietness or that silence starts with that young boy. It starts when they're 8, 9, 10, and it moves through their adulthood. And we've seen that as counselors, as therapists, as coaches, that our African American, they suffer in silence. And we as women, we have to change that narrative, that they no longer suffer in silence, that they're, like I said earlier, that they understand it's okay to talk. It's okay to cry. And for so many, like, man, brothers don't cry, no, you suck it up. Well, God gave us emotions. All of us have emotions to express ourselves.
Right.
And so if you constantly telling somebody, suck it up, then all of that is pinned up. So you know what happens? It turns into rage. You know what happens when rage? It turns into anger. You know what happens when anger? It just turns to violence. And then before we know it, our jails are filled up, Angela. We begin to do the assault thing, whether it's sexual assault, verbal assault. That people just didn't wake up and become a rapist. And I know I'm going a little raw, but people just didn't wake up and become a rapist overnight. They didn't wake up and become a mass, still talking about empowerment here, but they did not wake up and just say, I'm going to do a mass shooting today. That came because their voice was suppressed. And somewhere in their process of being a man, whether it was that boy, that young man, that gentleman, that father, that grandfather, one of those stages of manhood, they did not properly matriculate through it. And so you ever seen some young guys or even girls, they can be 30, but they act like they're 15. And so because they've skipped that stage of a woman. And so you really, really have to allow them to have the counseling they need, the support, the village, whatever you have. But we have to change the narrative that our men no longer suffer in silence.
Oh, that's good. I'm telling you, because at a time where now more than ever, and for those who maybe haven't taken advantage of it, it's not too late, because it needs to be conversations, because I think we've been so busy, and we talk about with this particular episode about mental wellness during a hectic time. We stay in a hectic period all the time, and it has to be a intentional period where you sit down and you really verbalize, how you feel, where you really, because like you say, just the release of talking to somebody can change so many things. And I know Zena even said something about, not only pressures from inside the house, but also outside the house. And you mentioned being at work, or, just dealing with what they see happen politically, or, knowing what other people are going through. There's a lot of different, bam, 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 to where release has to come somewhere. And if they can communicate, if they can just feel free to express in a non-judgmental zone, then that can really help to be mentally well enough to go fight another day, to go
Ooh,
get up the
girl,
next day and
listen.
still be able to deal with it. So
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah. And you know what? When we're talking about really focusing on how to deal with stresses, how to deal, a lot of people are now into the whole protesting. That's good because we're
Mhm.
echoing the voice of our heart. And I think we need to do that, but it's also challenging. It's very hectic. You got to fight through traffic. You got to wonder, will you be next? Will your loved one be next?
Mhm.
But I want to just share also a few tips that while we are doing this process, we're getting out this pandemic. A couple things I want to share. The power of yes and no. Never be afraid to say no. It's your life. It's given to you by God. It's given to you to make positive choices that will help you live a well integrated lifestyle. That's number
Mhm.
one. So, coming out of this crisis, you have to learn when it's a good time to say yes and when it's a good time to say no. And when
Good.
it's time to say no, be okay with it. Trust me, they'll get over
Yes. That's a good one right there. Y'all better take note because that was a good one right there. Say no unapologetically, baby. Sometimes no is a
it.
full sentence. Try it.
Yeah,
No.
yeah. And then another tip I want to leave is acknowledge your body needs, especially if you're out there protesting. Make sure you're getting a lot of nourishment, lots of water, lots of everything that you need. But you're also taking care of yourself because protesting can mentally drain you because you're
Mhm.
you're out
Mhm.
there. And I salute every protest. Only thing I'm saying is make sure that you take care of your body needs while you're out there,
Mhm.
so we can get more mileage out of you in the
Right.
years to come. Also, surround yourself with people who care. That's important. When life gets hectic, whether you're protesting, whether you're at home, you're schooling, you're doing virtual camps, whatever you're doing, surround yourself always with people who care, not just about what you can do for them, but vice versa. And make sure that you're in an organic relationship. Make sure you're in relationships and that you foster relationships that are mutually benefiting for you and your overall good. The next one is limit things that drain your energy. All
Mm.
Listen, you only have one life.
Right.
Take care of it. You only have one brain. Take care of it. One heart, people.
Mhm.
Take care of it. And never again have the fear of saying no. No, I can't go to the mall with you. No, I'm not going to hang out. Why? Because I'm building my future. I'm building my empire. I'm building something for my children's children. So never be afraid to say no.
That's so powerful. In and of itself, each point was something, I hope you all take away and really explore and really figure out how to use those because again, when it comes to being able to say no, at some
Yeah.
point in time, saying yes is so overwhelming. Saying yes when you don't really want to say
Oh
yes
my God.
creates that anxiety. Saying yes
Yeah.
when you don't want to be bothered creates a depressed state, so we've got to learn, like you say, that
Mm-hmm.
know that it's only one you, one of your
Yeah.
mind, one of your heart,
Yeah.
one body, so when you start doing things outside of what you really want to do, it
Yeah.
starts deteriorating from your mind, your mindset, from your,
Yep.
physical standpoint. All those things start going down because you have things that are pulling and the excess weight is so much heavier to carry than when you just release it and just say
Yes.
no. That way the person that you talk to knows up front and you've been able to say what was on your heart and be okay with it. And I think a lot of times we have the mental issues because we carry so much guilt behind
Yeah.
some of the things that we do.
Yeah, yeah. And here's the thing, we sometimes care more about the other person's feelings. So like you just said, that yes comes with so much because now that yes is going to take me out of my schedule. That yes is going to put me behind. Now you're satisfying the other person. But that yes. So understand the power of yes and no. And another point I want to leave with our listening audience, if all possible, avoid traumatic experiences. If you know that a situation is going to inflict pain on you, then avoid it. If you know a particular place or person is going to impact you on a negative level, traumatic experience, avoid it. Again, having that mental fortitude helps you to avoid traumatic experiences, because that's another emotional drainage situation that we want you to stay, kind of stay away from,
Yeah.
and then don't be afraid to find help when you need to get help.
That's good. That's good. And I see a lot of people are saying, I'm learning to say no, learn to say no. You know, I'm telling you, you know what? Peace of mind, baby, you can't buy it. So to protect your peace, you have to, start just being mindful of, like you say, situations that where people are going to be that are going to cause you to maybe step outside of your character, or they're going to cause you to get drained when you already know when you show up they're going to be asking 50 million questions and already get on your nerves before you get there. When you already know these things, then protect your peace and understand that sometimes it's better not to even go than it is to go and take yourself through all of that, because then you're mad because you get back home and say, I knew I shouldn't have went.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were talking tonight about tips and tools to help you not only live a well-integrated lifestyle, but to make sure that you live a very peaceful lifestyle, because guess what? That is the will of God. And I often tell people, Angela, listen, I live in a world of peace. I live in a realm of peace. So I automatically know when a traumatic experience is about to happen, because a person, the energy changes. You ever walk in a room and the energy just changes?
The energy shifts, baby. Yes.
Listen, it's like, what was that? And so I already know, my antennas have already gone up to say, this conversation, you better block it. So you know what I do? I am very verbal. I tell people all the time, listen, I love you, but I live in a world of peace. And you know why I do that? Because I foster peace and I protect peace, but I also give peace. So when you're in my presence, most people would say, Monica, you're like a breath of fresh air. Or Monica, you have such a peaceful spirit. That's the energy that I give off, because that's the domain. That's the area or era that I live in. Everything about me is peaceful. When you walk in my home, when you walk in my office, everything is, I enjoy a good confrontation, a good debate. But when I know that's a battle to no end, then it's time, you can't let people zap you of your energy. You have a conversation, Angela, with some people, and by the time you've gotten off the telephone, you're like,
girl, you just like, whoa, girl, I'm drained. Whoa, baby, feel like I don't work 8 hours and we just been sitting on the call for 30 minutes, baby. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, but you have to protect your peace. Live in that peace and fight for your peace. Just like we talked earlier about your space of meditation. Fight, create it, protect it, and then fight for it. Fight for peace. So everybody knows,
that's good.
Before you come into my domain, oh, well, she's drama free. And I decree and declare that every single day. My life is drama free. My workspace is drama free. In fact, I have a declaration about just drama free. Leave the drama out the door, out the door, out the door.
Yes, that's good. That's good. I think Mary had made a question. I think it was a question. She was like, how do you protect your peace inside your household if it is the one that's volatile?
Okay, if she's asking, if she's the one that's volatile or somebody else?
No, what she said, it was an exclamation point, but it was, how do you protect your peace in your home? So I'm assuming that when you've got other things going on, or you've got an argumentative person, or you've got people that, you're trying to kind of be in a peaceful environment, and they're bringing the drama in, and it's people that you live with. Yeah.
Okay, so a couple of things. There's something called, that we learned in coaching school, controlled peace and controlled anxiety, right? You have to be able to take the temperature of your home. When I say temperature, I don't mean like physical temperature, but an emotional temperature. And so what you need to do is, number one, if the person is, some people are just, they like a good argument, and they want to know, I got the remote control first, or, well, why you didn't pay this bill, or why, it's just, and I get it, domestic, especially during this crisis. So what you do, if they ask questions, you turn your voice down. If they get riled up, you bring it down. You understand?
Oh, that's good.
If you know that if you go in the garage and they left the garage door open, okay, ladies, let's drive it home. Hold on, I have a better one for you. So you've asked him several times to make sure when he used the restroom, he put the toilet seat down, but he constantly leave the toilet seat up. Okay, that's a domestic thing, and it happens all the time. So what you may have to do is say, sweetheart, can you, and what I would say, always ask in love. Always, ladies, confront in love. Address an issue in love. And I promise you, it will dismantle the most vicious debate or argument. Also, number 2, the element of surprise. Learn where he or she may think you're going to fuss because nothing was taken out. I'm just kind of throwing out scenarios for dinner. Just say, oh, honey, well, I ordered dinner in. That element of surprise, because what you want to do is disarm them. You want to diffuse the situation before it even reaches.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So
go on Michael Jackson with that info. That's good.
Just learn how to diffuse. Again, learn how to diffuse. Learn how to address in love. And women, we like a good scratch out fight. We like to have the last word. But remember now, our men suffer in silence. So we have to sometimes kind of back up a little, just a little. And maybe it's a situation where he didn't have a voice growing up. So now, you got to figure out what is the underlying issue. Okay, something is fueling it. Whether it's Ricky when he was 7 or 8, and his daddy told him to shut up, take out the garbage, and go to bed, and he never had a voice. So you have to figure out, and you can figure out, again, it's help out there. Figure out what is going on, what is fueling that anger. Okay, remember earlier we talked about anger just doesn't happen.
Right. Yes. Oh my God, that right there. I know our time is up.
Yes.
But I'm telling you that is such amazing information. I mean, from talking about doing some things can help you to get focused with the meditation, with just taking time out to yourself to walk, do those things that's going to get your mental capacity clear so you can focus on what you want to do. From talking about just how with men and young boys, allowing them to be free to express themselves so that they can have a voice, so they don't grow up with pent-up anger that plays itself out in other ways. To talking about how when you're trying to get involved with somebody whose energy is off, understand what that is, and then create a boundary to separate yourself. But if you get into those positions, learn how to de-escalate by bringing your tone down, by coming in love. I mean, girl, you did yes. You done this. If y'all make sure, I go back and listen, because I'm going to go back and listen again, because these are just excellent points. And when we know how to help ourselves with being in a mental well state, then we can operate out of being empowered. We can operate at different levels. And so that's, I couldn't ask for a better first episode to give people, because it positions you in a place of power when you know how to do things. The element of surprise. Go punch them with something, baby, and let them figure that one out. Be able to, switch that thing up and speak in love. So all of those things, people may say, that doesn't work, but try it. You never know. Like they say, a soft answer turneth away wrath. The Bible says, spoken all the time. So when you go to somebody, don't underestimate the power of bringing your voice down. Don't underestimate the power of being able to use your intuition to recognize when the energy is off and maybe
Yeah.
when you need to remove yourself before some other things happen and take you
Mhm.
out of character. So all those things work together so that you can have a great mental capacity so that you can move through life so much better. So Monica, tell them, I know you talked briefly about the podcast, but let them know when it comes on, how they can get in contact with you there, as well as any social media, how they can reach you as well.
Yes, first of all, and again, Angela, thank you, and to all of our listening audience, thank you. You all can find me on Instagram at Amani Jackson on Instagram, and on Facebook, you can find me at Monica Jackson. You can also check out my website at monicajacksonwellness.com. You can sign up for our newsletter. You can sign up for services. You can sign up for anything, or if you just want to talk. We're certainly available to chat with you and have a conversation with you. And again, you can always reach out to Angela. We're sisters now.
Yes,
And so we're on the
arms
journey
linked.
together. I salute her and what she's doing and really support and push her. And I want to encourage you tonight. Let's really get behind her. She's a frontliner, and let's help echo her voice. She has a voice that needs to be heard. So I'm glad to be a part of the movement.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm so glad that we connected. I said, God, know God loved me because he put such amazing people in my life. So it's a pleasure. Thank you so much
Yeah,
for being here.
absolutely.
Prayers over everything that you're doing, that you continue to impact people. Mental wellness is so needed. And
Yeah.
if we can handle mental wellness right, because to me, it's kind of like, the preventative measure when you do for checkups for your health. If you can just get that front piece right, then it can save you so much trouble and time on the back end. So, let's make sure that we, take those necessary steps, to invest in ourselves so that we can be whole mentally, because that can change the trajectory of every other thing that we do in life.
Yes, yes, and yes. And guess what? Prevention is better than intervention all the way around.
Woo!
So yeah,
Yeah,
it's better.
absolutely.
Yeah. So if you treat your mind right, treat your body right, you're doing all the preventive stuff, and you less likely have to, deal with all the intervention of medicine and everything else. So, which we thank God for it. But so anyway, I'm so glad to be here. What a night. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Well, listen to all of our guests. Thank you so much. We appreciate you being here. This is Woman Empowered. This is our first kickoff premiere show. So we will get you the link to follow us on YouTube so you guys can tune in for more amazing women that are coming on to let you know what they're doing in life, how they're making an impact and a difference in the community. Again, Monica, thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, Angela. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, everybody. We will see you next time. Y'all take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.